Hey everybody, this is Jessica again with Out of the Box Healing. I'm a foot zone and quantum healing practitioner, and I'm excited today to have Alysia on my channel. And she's here to talk about I think it's like LumiCare. Is that how you say it?
LumiCeuticals.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
LumiCeuticals. Yeah, I was getting the name
Life
wrong.
is a self-healing tool.
Yes. So I'm really excited to have her here and to teach more about this. Without further ado, would you just share who you are and what you do exactly?
Sure. So I'm Alysia Humphries, and I have been doing harmonic light for about 8 years, mostly for myself to begin with. But then when you have a good thing, then you just start to share it. I'm a wife and a mom of 7 kids. My youngest is 7 and my oldest is 25. So my life has pretty much revolved around my family most of my life, but I've always been interested in holistic healing, and I grew up with that. Like, my mom was a midwife and she taught us about herbs and nutrition, and basically I grew up with the idea that you can heal yourself in a lot of circumstances. Like, sometimes you need a doctor, but most of the time we can do a lot for ourselves if we have the right tools and the right understanding and the right nourishment. And so I always grew up wanting to know more about that and knowing that we could do a lot for ourselves. And I was a pretty healthy person. So I came into light therapy knowing about that, but not really knowing that much about energy or frequency, which is a lot of what we work with in light therapy. And the reason why I ended up finding that was because of a crisis. And that's usually what happens, right? We tend to find our greatest gifts and our greatest learning in our trials. So for me, my trial started out with depression and anxiety that came with my first child. And I had postpartum depression and anxiety that just kind of continued after I wasn't postpartum anymore. I mean, I guess I did go on to have several children, but it just kind of stayed with me. And I just kind of felt like, well, this must be what it's like to be a mom. And I struggled with it to get out from under that dark cloud. And I used as many of the tools that I knew as I could, changing my diet, exercise, herbs, nutrition. I did go to counseling and coaching and a lot of different things that were good and helpful a little bit, but they weren't enough to dig me out of that hole. And I was finding that I was stuck in a place of hiding from my kids a lot, where I wanted to be this great mom, but I would hide in order to try to get my peace and get myself into a good place to go back out there and be the kind of person that I wanted to be for them. And it just wasn't working. So this went on for about 15 years. And I was finally at a place where my husband was begging me to go and maybe get some pharmaceuticals. And I had been trying to avoid that. And I was about ready to do that. But I had been praying that I could find a natural solution that wouldn't have the side effects that I had read about. And that's when I found light therapy. And it was exactly what I needed. So I went to this conference where they were doing holistic health stuff. And I saw these people that were relaxing in these chairs with light on their bodies. So I can actually show you what it looks like, the light therapy. So they had these light masks that they would put on their eyes, and they had pads of light on their bodies. And it looked really strange to me, but I kept feeling drawn to that. And so I went in and I tried it. And after 20 minutes of using those lights, it was like this dark cloud lifted and I was present in my body and my mind was clear. I wasn't thinking about the past or the future or worrying about anything. And I was energized and relaxed at the same time, which I had never experienced. I was like, can those two things even go together? So that was the beginning for me just to have that experience and then to bring it into my home and try it. And I did a 2-week trial with the lights, and during that time, my family they were the ones that were encouraging me that I was different. They noticed that I wasn't hiding as much. They said that I was nicer. So they were like, yeah, Mom, you need these lights because we like you better this way. And they needed me. So I could see that that was something that would be not only beneficial to myself, but to them. And that's really how healing always is, right? When we take care of ourselves, then it blesses all the people that we serve and that we live with, and it helps them so that we can show up for them in the way that we want to be. So that's
Definitely.
kind of how I found light therapy.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I know it's kind of a personal story, but I think, like you said, it really does become these kind of rock bottom situations that enlighten us to something better. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. I had heard about your story, gosh, maybe about a year ago or so, through my friend Janet, and was really struck by your story because I've had individuals that I've really cared about who've also struggled with some really intense mental challenges. And I think we can all have, varying degrees of challenges. And I remember with certain people that I've been with just struggling even more so during like winter months, like
Yes.
their emotions flare, and depression intensify. And so I was really intrigued by your story, and was able to try them out myself for 2 weeks, and really loved being able to use those. And we're here in Utah, and the weather has just been really
Like an
more difficult.
eternal winter. It's been
Like
so long.
yeah. And so there were times where I put it on and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so great right now. And I know if I wasn't using these, I wouldn't be feeling as good just because there's such a lack of vitamin D that I'm getting right now. And I also noticed like a huge relief just in my brain, like the brain fog lifting, um, the more energy, like you mentioned. So I definitely could feel the benefits of that just within the short time that I was able to use those. And so thank you for sharing that. Do you want to go into some of your slides?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to share. So I've learned so many things about science. I'm not a big science person, but just using the lights, I could tell, obviously, from what I felt that it was doing something for me. But as I've gone along, then I've been able to learn more about why that is the case and what else light is doing for us and why our bodies need it so much.
Mhm.
So, one of the things that sorry, I'm getting my slides up here. One of the things that I realized was that, I was sitting here thinking that I had this big deficiency in my character when I was struggling with depression and anxiety. And if I could just be more patient, if I could just be better, then I could overcome it. And what was really going on, and I think this is the case a lot of times with people, whether it's a chronic physical illness or mental illness or something else, is just it's not your fault. It's that you're missing something that's an important nutrient that you need, or an important support that you need. And for me, what I was missing was light. I really needed more light in my life. And so I would just, I guess if there's anything that I could have people take away, regardless of whether they are looking into light therapy or not, is just if you have trouble like that, don't blame yourself. Find what it is that you're missing and get that support, because that's what's happening most of the time. And I think a lot of times it's easy to blame ourselves. So that's kind of a little tangent, but
That's
um,
important. Thanks for sharing that.
see if I can get this up for you. You'll have to tell me if you can see. Are you
Yeah, I
able to
can
see
see
the
it.
slides?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So as I said, I started this 8 years ago for my on my own journey of learning about light therapy to help me heal. And now I share it with other people. I help people who want just sessions, or if they want to own a light system in their home, I coach them and help them to learn how to best use it for them and what frequencies and what light colors would be best for them. And it's been such a fun journey just to see other people come alive and ignite the light inside them as well as myself. And also to learn more about this amazing element of light that we've been given. I didn't realize before how important it is to us, but it is one of those elements alongside water, food, air. We need those things to survive, and we really do need light to survive as well and thrive. Just like plants, we're so much more like plants than we realize. Our cells need light to be able to regenerate and to grow and to be able to have energy. And a lot of times we are only struggling because we're missing that nutrient of light and our bodies are craving. If you live in Utah or anywhere where it's been snowing so long, then you know that your body is kind of craving light right now, especially in this winter. And light is almost universally connected to positive things because it is so important not only for our bodies, but it's also food to our souls and our minds. Like when we have an idea, we see that as, the light going on. And when we meet somebody who just shines from within, we say that they have a light in them. And so we can see that. We know that innately that we need it, but I think that it's just starting to be understood in science. So I want to share with you some of the things I've learned about literal light and color and frequency and how it can help people not only with like the things that I've been focused on with the mental health, but also in our physical health as well. So I kind of touched on this, but I love this quote that every woman who heals herself heals her children's children. And that goes for men too. But anytime that we can nourish ourselves better, then we're going to bless all the people around us. And that is super important. I feel like that's a part of my mission, is to help people to value and prioritize their wellness so that they can serve the people in their homes and in their work and everywhere that they touch. So as I was telling you about this bad place that I was in with depression and anxiety and how I found the light at this conference, obviously my family, they could see a difference in me. But as I've gone along, I've been able to actually help some of my children with issues that they had too. And I learned that they're also deficient in light. And we've kind of seen this in the increase in things like autism and anxiety in our young children, difficulty sleeping, learning difficulties. And we've been able to address a lot of those things and their ability to regulate their emotions with light too. So it's been kind of a family journey that we've gone on together. And so why is light such an important thing for our health? We are actually made of light. We're beings of light. We're not only taking in light through our eyes all the time and our skin, but we also emit light. There's actually scientific studies where they've taken special cameras and they can see the light that we emit. Anyone that is alive is emitting light, and plants do that too. We actually glow, and we naturally seek out light for our survival. And it's a nutrient that our cells need, like water, food, and air. And I love this because I believe our bodies were divinely designed with an innate ability to heal themselves. And when we give those cells the nutrients and the environment that they need, they know what to do to balance and repair our bodies and minds. And light is key to that, to nourishing our cells. Our cells actually communicate with light as well. kind of like a fiber optic system. And we have a whole network of pathways along which the light information will travel, and it connects and it informs like the connection between our brain and our gut and our right and our left brain. It even helps to repair our DNA. And so light is information, it's nutrient, and it's also information. And so what we're doing with light therapy is we're pulsing the light at vibrational frequencies to get the body back into balance and to give it the information that it needs to connect. And you may be familiar, I'm sure you are, Jessica, with the other systems in our body, the energetic systems like the meridians and the chakras and those other energetic pathways. And that's also a way that light travels in our body and communicates. So that's really so interesting. There's the science side of it that they're discovering new things about light all the time, but then there's also the energetic side that science hasn't quite discovered yet, but we know innately that that is real as well. So this is really an interesting thing because we're always being affected in our health by both light and frequency. We can be affected positively or negatively. So we actually have a lot of aggressive energy around us all the time that's affecting our health. We have frequencies coming in from our cell phones, x-rays. Those are wavelengths of light that are not so great for us. Okay. We've got Wi-Fi, we've got the low frequency of junk foods and toxins in our food and our water and our air and things like that that our bodies are trying to grapple with. We've got the news. We've got people in our lives that are not super high vibration, and they are bringing us down with their low frequencies and the thoughts that we think, the words that we say, and just a general disconnect from nature and from light and from the way that we're naturally meant to be. And so we have a lot that we are dealing with just in our environment, this aggressive energy. And so what I love about light therapy is that it's an easy way that no matter what else is going on around me, I can put in positive frequency and healthy wavelengths of light, because there are wavelengths of light that are good for us that fall in the visible to near visible spectrum, the colors that we can see. And then there's the wavelengths like the Wi-Fi and the smart meters and the stuff like that that's not so great for us. And we can't avoid all of those things. We can certainly make good choices to choose to surround ourselves with better things, choose healthier foods, better water. We can do some of those things, but that we can't change everything. And so what we can do is to add more good. So light is something that I can do for myself every day that puts in good frequencies and good wavelengths of light that are going to feed my cells, and they're going to help protect me in a way, if that makes sense. So this is just something that we can do proactively. And I would encourage people, even if you don't have a light therapy system, to look at the ways that you can change the frequencies that you're exposed to. Get out in nature more, surround yourself with good uplifting music, surround yourself with people that that uplift you, and their frequencies are high. And that's a lot of the things that you address in your show too, that I appreciate. You're helping people to be more intentional about the way that the things that they bring into their bodies, as well as their minds and their souls, to be healthy.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. So some of the ways that our bodies are designed to receive light, obviously receive through the eyes. We also can receive it through our food, all of our food, whether it's meat or vegetables or whatever, it's all grown and nourished through light. It can't survive without light. And the closer to nature that we get, the better for us. We also receive light through our skin. And this is something that I didn't realize so much before I found light therapy. that light can actually travel through our skin and deep down into the muscles and the bones and even the marrow of the bones and help us to regenerate and help us with things like pain relief and inflammation and better circulation and energy to our cells. And then lastly, we receive light through our energy field, and that's something that we innately can sense and feel. Probably is a big part of why we feel so much better when it's not dark and cold and dreary outside. We feel that energy to our spirits as well as our bodies. So just a single photon of light can light up our brain, and it's amazing how our bodies are designed. We have our pineal gland as well in the middle of our head that has rods and cones, just like our eyes do, that are designed to receive light information. So that may be why people call that area the third eye. It's like a window to the soul. It helps us with our circadian rhythms, our hormones, our sleep cycles, our intuition, our creativity, and it synchronizes our consciousness and our natural rhythms. So that's a super important thing. And I think that it's something that they're just barely starting to discover how crucial that pineal gland receiving light, enough light and good light, is with all of the different mental health struggles that we have and the sleep struggles and anxiety. There's so much that it's connected to. And these are some of those things, hormones, our memory. There's a lot of studies being done on light for people who've had brain injuries or who struggle with Alzheimer's and different traumatic brain disorders and like concussions and the effects of that, just to have light coming into the brain through the skin, through the skull. That has shown to be some really cool results for people that have struggled with things like dementia and brain fog. And that was one of the things that you mentioned that you experienced too, was more clarity of mind. And that's something I noticed too. So the biggest thing that I feel like is powerful about the lights is that it gets people almost invariably. They can be super type A, super go, go, go. But when they get under the lights, you just see that melt away and it's like effortless. They don't have to know all of the things that are causing their stress, but it just helps people to get into that quiet meditative state and let go of the fight or flight that we most of us are walking around in fight or flight. And the fact is, we can't heal when we are in fight or flight. Our bodies are putting all of our energy into that fight or flight. And so before we can really be effective in anything else that we're doing to heal our bodies, we have to get out of stress mode. And I like how they kind of on this slide, they divide up the word disease into dis-ease, because that's what it is. When we have disease, the root of that is almost always stress of some sort. There's all different kinds of stress and all kinds of reasons for stress, but that takes us out of our healing response. And we are naturally designed to heal ourselves. And all we need is to be able to be in the right environment, which is we've got to be in a meditative state. And then we've got to be taking in the right nutrients so that we have the energy to feed ourselves so that they can do the work that they're designed to do, which is to heal themselves. They can do that. And the autonomic nervous system is actually controlled by light and sound impulses, like we talked about, how we have that network of pathways of information with light. And so it's a perfect modality in my mind for helping get us there quickly, helping our nervous system to communicate correctly, and helping ourselves to communicate and get back in balance so that they can heal. So I like to call it meditation for dummies because you just lay there and you really don't have to do a lot. I know there's a lot of really good healing work that we can do, and we want to be intentional about what we what we need to address that's causing our stress. But sometimes it's really hard to do that when you're in that fight or flight mode. And so to be able to just receive relaxation and to receive light and not have to effort your way through, that is such a gift to people so that they can get to a place where they're ready to make a shift, where they're ready to face head on those things that they need to change, maybe, or that they need to realize, and they're actually in a good space to do so.
Mhm.
So that was the key, I think, for me. I actually had a coach when I was before I found the lights, and I was trying really hard to get over this depression and anxiety. And she said, if you could just find 7 minutes a day where you could quiet your mind, that would change everything for you. And I believed her. I think that was really great advice. But when I went home and I locked the door and I tried to have 7 minutes, I couldn't even do 2 minutes. I couldn't get my mind to be quiet at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really discouraging. And that was the magic, I think, for me with light therapy, is that it quickly and easily gets my mind clear. It made me so that I could let those things go and just be present. And they've actually found in scientific studies that if you can spend 20 minutes a day in meditative state, which happens to be about how long a light session is, it shifts the whole picture of your health and your brain function after only a few weeks or a few months. It's
Mhm.
such a powerful thing just to be able to be in a relaxed state. And your blood sugar is affected, your energy, inflammation, all kinds of health issues can be resolved just with being in a meditative state. And some people may be able to do that really well without help, but a lot of us are in that state, I think. I hope I'm not the only one that couldn't that couldn't clear their mind for
Yeah,
2 minutes.
I can relate. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much to think about. And I think we practice being kind of busy in our minds all the time too. It's a habit. So
Mhm.
it's great to have something to help us with that. So the next way that we receive light is through our skin. And I love this slide because it shows really clearly what some of the different colors do. And there's more colors than this that we work with. These are some of the main ones. So if you see on the right here, the near infrared light goes the very deepest. It goes clear into the muscles and bones, into the marrow of bones. And every color of light has different beneficial properties. Every color that we can see is in that range of beneficial light. And they all reach a different depth. So red and near infrared, they reach the deepest, and they are the ones that are the most studied for helping with pain and inflammation and circulation, helping our bodies to produce more nitric oxide, which helps to it helps our whole cardiovascular system to work better, and it helps with pain and all of those other things. They're still learning all the things that it does. The green doesn't go quite as deep, but it is amazing also for pain and for specific pains like migraine pain, or I've found it very helpful. Of course, they don't study this, but I found it very helpful for moods. And you can think about if you are in a green forest, the effect that being in that green environment has on you. It has a similar effect on us, just putting light on our bodies. It helps to calm us and center us and ground us. And they're also finding benefits in different areas. They're studying like the liver and the gallbladder, how green light can help with that. And they're finding new things all the time about green light. Blue is a little bit more on the surface level. It's more like the skin tissue that it would reach, but it's very cleansing. It's very anti-inflammatory, anti-pathogenic, antifungal. It helps with infections and is cleansing, and it's also very calming. So red is more energizing and blue is more calming. And they find that when they put those two together, then that can actually help to balance our nervous system because you've got both. And so it's quite amazing to learn just on the scientific side what they can observe in the body. But then we also know that we have emotional responses to each color as well. And those are things that haven't been studied, but we can learn those through our intuition and our experience. And then also we're working with frequency or sound. And the idea of frequency, if you are a musician or if you sing or play an instrument, that's frequency, the vibrations of each tone of music. And there's frequency all around us. Our voices are frequencies, they're vibrating. And so we can pulse light at vibrational frequencies to help tune our bodies. And so when we're sick or depressed or something's out of whack, then our frequency is kind of out of tune. We're not vibrating at the frequency that's ideal and optimal for our organs or our emotions. And when we can pulse beneficial vibrational frequencies that are healthy for us into our bodies and all around us, then it helps us get back in tune and play our song again, so to speak. So it's kind of like a tuning fork. I don't know if you've ever seen how a tuning fork works. I grew up with a bunch of musicians, so I kind of think in terms of music. But when you ping a tuning fork across the room, then all the way across the room, then the vibrations will cause the tuning fork over here to vibrate it the same way. So we can actually tune up our bodies by pulsing in the optimal frequencies to help us. And there are specific frequencies that we can use that are more energizing, and some that are more relaxing, some that are very specific to, like, what does a healthy liver vibrate at? Or what does a healthy brain vibrate at? And they've actually been able to study those things and find out exactly what the Hertz level and the level of vibration is of those things, so we can match it.
Interesting.
So I love that harmonic light, which is light pulsed at frequencies, is gentle. It is something that we can do that we don't have to do surgeries. We don't have to take things that are going to maybe have dangerous side effects for us. It's just an element of nature that we're exposing ourselves to that supports us in healing ourselves and regulating our own vibrations and our own frequencies. The idea of frequency is starting to be studied more in science, but it's been around for a while. I love this Dr. Nogier because he studied quite a bit about frequency, and he's the one that kind of isolated what frequencies specifically were a healthy frequency for each area of our bodies. And so in our light systems, we're actually able to use those frequencies that he and other scientists have found. These are examples of some of the ones that we use in pulsing the light in our light systems. So you can see here 73 Hertz works with hormones and immunity and mood. We've got 147 Hertz that helps with infection and scar tissue and mental health. That's one that I used quite a bit, and so on and so forth. There's ones for bones, there's ones for our brain, ones for pain. And then there's also emotional frequencies. You may be familiar with specific ones, like 432 Hertz is one that a lot of people love to use. It's a frequency of the heart, a frequency of nature. 528 is one that I see a lot as well, that people are using. There, you'll see whole tones music that people create that's based around these specific Hertz values, these specific frequencies that are found in nature, and they support us in changing our moods and our emotional wellness, our energetic frequencies as well. So it's amazing how much we can address in a gentle way.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
So obviously, getting outside is important. You can get light and frequency by being out in nature. This is kind of what it looks like for us to use light therapy. These are some of the ways that harmonic light can be applied. And especially living in Utah, I love that on days when I don't want to go outside or I can't go outside or the sky is just covered in clouds, or I would have to cover up from head to toe to not freeze. So I wouldn't be getting a lot of light into my body by going outside. I can still put light into my body and positive frequencies with this. This is something that I make part of my everyday. So we have pads of light, as I said, that can go anywhere on the body, on our eyes to help balance our nervous systems and our brain. We have wands of light that a lot of people use. If I have a lot of foot zoner friends and they like to use the lights in their foot zoning, and it just goes along well with pretty much any other healing modality. It doesn't compete, it really complements whatever else we're doing, whether it's massage or foot zoning or reflexology, or even like improving our nutrition. I found that when I was using light on a regular basis on my body, then I was absorbing the nutrition that I tried to take in better. And I felt like I was more intuitive about what I needed to take into my body to eat and what things I needed to change. It was more open, I guess, to that internal knowing. So let's see. Computer is kind of not letting me change. There we go. Okay. So I know that you've talked about this in other podcasts, but just encourage people to think about how everything is energy. And if we can do something to really match the frequency of what we want, even if we're not there yet, we may feel like this isn't, it's not who I am yet, but it's who I want to be. So if you surround yourself with positive light, positive frequency, positive people, positive words, the things that are going to help you to rise to that level and vibrate at that level that you want to be, that's going to work. It's really powerful. And I've seen it happen in my life. My baseline, I feel like, has increased and improved and raised every day that I use the lights, and it just continues to improve. So it doesn't mean that I don't have bad days or stress. Everyone has stress in their lives, but our response to it can be different, and our recovery from setbacks and things that come into our lives that are negative can be better when we are surrounding ourselves proactively with positive things. And that's what we're trying to do with light therapy. And if you want to learn more about light therapies, there's a lot of books out there now. There's a lot more studies. You can go to PubMed if you want to do the scientific side and put in anything under low-level light therapy or photobiomodulation. Those are really big words that I didn't know before, but you look up that and anything else. You can look up photobiomodulation and arthritis, or low-level light therapy and ADHD, or whatever it is that you want to look up. And most likely you'll find a study, because light is coming into the forefront of science now. It's the medicine of the future, like this book here. And if you want to look for books, this author, Jacob Lieberman, is really good. There's also another lady, I don't have her on here. Actually it's a man, I think. I forget. But Anna D. Martel is the author, and it's called Light Therapies. That's also another good book if you want to study about light. And there's also my website here if you want to take a look at what we have to offer with light therapy systems. And there's more studies there and webinars and things to go more in depth about that. But that's what I have. And
Thank you.
do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do have some questions for you. So how often do you use the lights?
I use them every day. Like I even I got the opportunity to go to Kenya recently on a humanitarian trip. It was amazing. And
Cool.
I did not leave my lights at home. I was a little bit nervous taking them on the plane, but I wanted to be at my best, and I know that I'm at my best when I'm using the lights, so I brought them with me, and I can feel a difference. It's not that, like, if I missed a day, it would be the end of the world, and it's not addictive or anything, but it just is helpful and supportive, and I love to have that in my life every day. I feel like I handle stress better when I do the lights, and I have them by my bed, and I just make that a part of my everyday routine, and
Mhm.
it just helps me be more relaxed.
Yeah, it sounds really, I mean, it's just really grounding. That's what was my
Yeah.
experience too.
But
Like,
I do have clients who they'll come once every couple weeks or once every week or something, and they definitely feel a great support in that.
mhm,
So it just
gotcha.
depends on what you want. I love having it in my home because, with 7 kids, it gets a lot of use. We can use it on every single person in the family and friends and neighbors that come over, and we've used it on our pets even. The
Mhm.
animals love the light and seek it out. So it's kind of our wellness toolbox that we use every day for everything. Like if somebody gets hurt or if they can't sleep or if they're getting sick or if they are having an emotional upset or they're just really stressed out, anything almost, even like chiropractor stuff. There's a alignment protocol that we do with the lights. And sometimes we do have to go to the chiropractor, but there's been times when we thought we would have to, and we used the lights and it just balanced and aligned everything, and we did not have to go. So I always
Mm,
try that first because it's not invasive and we have it, and it's an easy, gentle thing we can do.
it saves money, right?
Yeah, that's been great.
Saves money from going to the doctor.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like we definitely have had less need for like supplements and medicines and doctors. Sometimes we still need the doctor, but
yeah,
it's a great way to take care of ourselves at home.
yeah, that's cool. So when I, excuse me, when I was using it, like I will get, like I've struggled with some PTSD due to some trauma that I've been through. So I would sometimes at night grab the lights and put it on me. Are there certain colors that help more with like trauma related like healing?
Yeah, and the colors together, like they kind of have these symbiotic relationships. So using all the colors together is helpful, but definitely the blue light is really calming and helpful. Um, and then it kind of depends on what the trauma is. Like
Yeah.
with brain trauma,
Uh-huh.
There's they've studied a lot about the near infrared and the red, and they actually have a helmet of light that can go on the head for the brain,
Interesting.
and that can be really helpful. But I found for me with depression and anxiety, the blue light was very helpful, and to have both the blue and the red in the eye mask was by design to help balance that nervous system so that I would have energy and motivation with the red light, but the blue was also they're calming, and together they just balance things.
Gotcha. That's cool. One evening, my mom came and visited me, and she popped the lights on, and she had a hard time sleeping that night. Like I've done it before
Oh,
at night, and I've been able to sleep. Are there certain colors that again are better at night so that you can actually sleep? Like,
yeah. I recommend people, if they do have trouble sleeping, to try using the blue mask in the morning,
mhm.
because the blue can be it kind of wakes you up in some ways, even though it's calming. It's just one of those colors. I never had trouble with that. I actually go to sleep with the lights on me at
Uh-huh.
night, but everybody is different. And so sometimes people will use the lights earlier in the day or earlier in the evening, and then their sleep isn't disrupted. For most people, they will fall asleep
Yeah.
on the lights because it's so relaxing. But you just kind of have to experiment with the colors for yourself. Every person's individual. Um, it's interesting to find, like we have a mask that's red and amber light and near infrared. that can help with the tissue in the eye area. It's kind of designed for that. But a lot of people like that at night. And I think it harkens back to like our ancestors that would gather around a fire in the evening. It would be dark, and that would be more of the color of light that they would be seeing as they
Mhm.
were getting ready to go to sleep. And so that can be more restful to have that kind of a color in your field of vision.
Gotcha. That's cool. I like that. So do the lights like actually help manufacture like vitamin D in your body system, like similar to the sun, or is it different?
So I'm still learning exactly how this works, and maybe science is too. I'm probably a little behind some
Yeah.
scientists, but what it does is our bodies actually can manufacture, in a lot of cases, their own vitamins. Maybe not every case, but a lot of times our bodies just they need other nutrients and other support in order to manufacture their own vitamins. And that's something that I've noticed. I used to take a lot of vitamins and supplements. I still take a little bit, but I found that I needed less and less as I was using the lights longer, because my body was able to probably convert more vitamins from the things that I ate and also to produce more of my own. I do have a friend who has been using the lights for a long time, and she is in her 80s, and she was having her bone density scans were showing deterioration, and she was taking a lot of vitamin D. And after a few years of using the lights, she went back to her doctor and got that tested, and she didn't need to take all that vitamin D anymore, and her
Mm,
bones were good and strong. So I
that's
don't know
cool.
for sure if that's the only reason why that happened, but for most people in their 80s, that's not the direction it's going.
Mhm.
And so she's getting stronger all the time instead of deteriorating. And I think that's amazing. That's the way I want to age.
Definitely. That's cool. Well, and there's quite a few things that the FDA has approved with the lights. Would you mind going into that?
Yeah. So obviously the FDA doesn't know everything, but
Mhm.
there's been enough studies done about these lights, about particularly mostly the red and near infrared colors is what they've studied. They have done some studies about the blue light as well. So red and near infrared has been FDA cleared for reducing inflammation, increasing circulation, pain reduction, injury recovery, arthritis, neuropathy, things like that, which is a lot. It's actually doing some really cool things for like some friends of mine. He has diabetes and he hasn't been able to feel his feet because of neuropathy for many years. And they started using the lights and putting the light directly on his feet, and he started being able to feel them, and it's getting better. So it's amazing to see some of the miracles that can happen in that. And I've had friends who like their work was being threatened, like they couldn't do what they normally did for work because of pain, back pain, injuries, and things like that. And they've been able to get back to what they love doing because they're using the lights and they're not hurting all the time anymore. So
Oh,
that's pretty amazing.
yeah.
Obviously, the FDA doesn't study all of the things with emotional and energetic wellness. Hopefully, maybe someday they'll be more aware of that. But the blue light has been studied and FDA cleared for acne. They have a mask that's specifically for acne because it helps clear the bacteria, the blue light. And then also anti-aging, red, and I think it's amber light and near infrared. There's some light colors like that that have been FDA cleared for helping with collagen production and wrinkles and anti-aging, fun stuff like that. And that's actually really important more than just for beauty. Like we have collagen all through our bodies that holds all of our bodies together, not just our faces. And
Yeah.
so it's important that we have that connective tissue working nicely in our whole body.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love that so much. And I love I just I relate so much with your story, just the being able to use the natural, because I think there's so much benefit in that, and without the nasty side effects that some of these other things um can create. And I know there's people that, you know, they use antidepressants and that works for them, and
Yeah.
we don't
They
wanna,
can be a blessing to people. I'm
yeah,
not
we don't
against
wanna
them.
do that, but definitely grateful for these types of technology that are blessing so many. And thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming on my channel, Alysia, and sharing your
thank
story
you.
and spreading that hope and light that others can also learn from your experiences. So, is there any final things you'd like to say before ending?
Well, I'm just grateful to you for sharing options and ideas and helping others to see that there are other ways, and a lot of there's a lot of options out there for being healthy and taking care of ourselves. And I love that you're sharing that light and that hope on your show. And I'm grateful to be a little part of it.
Thank you so much, Alysia. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll end here and hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you.